Send it on PHP.
Like one time.
It's twice. And there was at least 18 books in it.
What?
There we go.
So
this Melanie David site, what do you make of it?
don't like it. There you go, review. Why not? It's
Right.
quicker run up before you.
How well does...
I had a few issues with it, actually.
I'm sure you did. Let's, right. How well does the site portray the work?
There you go. I got it out in an Explorer, which is where I had issues.
Oh, you've looked at it in an Explorer, okay?
I looked at it in an Explorer.
Cool. So
it doesn't portray the work.
I like it when you click on the information stuff.
Right. I don't think it's that great. And I think to get to the work is a little hidden.
No,
yeah, but not everyone would think that, would they?
Oh, well, let's go to the site and then we'll walk through it.
Yeah.
So to get to the work is difficult.
I think, like,
no,
it's not.
Not the work there.
Yeah, but that's not the work. You have to hover.
That took a lot longer on my computer, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there's 3 links that you can go to about work and contact.
You could have put about and contact together, especially with how small the contact page is when you get to it.
Oh, that's not so. I haven't seen this bit yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's hard to get it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed it initially.
Yeah, you're probably right. Work. I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty simple to negotiate from that perspective. I'll have to have a look at it in Explorer. It is just a basic HTML page there, so you can just scroll through it like so. That's quite a nice little touch there that it doesn't move on until that bit's overflowed. What about the design?
I don't like it. It has the problem I mentioned earlier, I think.
Which is?
Which it just doesn't use the space, I think. I think that about side, it's half the page.
A lot of white. No, I like that.
Too much white space.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's not white space, but too much white space. But I don't like that because I feel like it's a bit wasted, I think. Like when she's got it scrolling down on the right side, which is kind of cool, but if you just use the whole page, you wouldn't need to scroll down and it would save your fingers.
Could you argue that perhaps that's the most effective way to format this text there? Because it's only like a few paragraphs, even though it overflows. It's probably better.
I like the film a bit, where she's got all these notes, all these scribbles she's put down.
I think on this screen, you're probably right. It does look like it's got a bit too much white space added over to it.
On the left side, yeah, it's wasted. I think.
But when you click on a piece of work,
like yellow goes with black. Yeah, Red Bull's cool when you go through this.
because then she gives a lot more screen space over to the information.
I think that's how it should be from the start.
Yeah.
Myself.
Okay.
But that's just me. But then she
No,
hasn't-
because then she has to think about like mobiles, like how it looks on mobiles.
Yeah, and it does have breakpoints. If you resize it down to
Some tablets in
like half a screen. So this is essentially what it would look like on a smaller screen. So she's relayed everything into
See, now that's where an issue lies as well there, I think.
too big.
Yeah, that's
You've got, you've got one word with a great big red background.
I disagree with you entirely.
Yeah, you can disagree. That's
Sort of design background.
I think it works on whatever size screen you've got there, doesn't it? So let's go to about now. And then it's that size.
It'll be set to like the height.
Yeah, that doesn't upside down, does it? When it's shrunk.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like the rest of it. Go on a tablet, for example.
I can see where you're coming from. Okay, I think you're being a little bit hypercritical in some respects, but I can see where you're coming from.
we've got to be critical, aren't we? Well, we're
Well, yeah.
critical analysis.
This is a bit annoying.
Yeah, it gets in the way then.
Yeah, that needs to be considered.
Yeah, that's sort of in the wrong place.
What about the typeface?
It looks original. I don't know if it is.
It's
But it looks
different.
I think it's probably loosely based on her own handwriting.
Oh, right, yeah.
So-
If you look at her notes on the film, when you go in there, it's got all these notes. Look, it's not look.
Yeah.
Oh, that lot there.
Okay.
That'll give you an idea of her handwriting.
I like the fact that you can see all like
the workflow.
I like the workflow, yeah. The content's good. I was a bit kind of like I don't know about this bit here. If I just go close that off.
She's advertising the Puma round the brand, isn't she?
Well, yeah, she's worked on the Puma brand, but it's this bit here. It's like when you click on more,
Yeah.
it zooms out or it zooms in.
Oh, the picture ever so slightly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a nice effect, but I'm not so sure.
It's too subtle for it to look like it was intentional.
It's continuous. isn't
It's
it?
continuous. It just keeps on growing. It does reach a stopping
Until we
point.
get to that freckle.
Just a bit slow.
I've got a feeling it's her, actually.
Well, that picture there's her.
I've got all the other bits in there, like the wireframes and the mock-ups. It's all her kind of like pretend content. So I guess
Yeah, but her picture at the top there. She had blonde hair, which is not very attractive.
On the laptops in there,
Oh yeah, good point.
the screenshots look quite sort of pixelated.
I'm not quite sure. They seem okay on this.
On that one.
Oh, this one.
Was it that one?
You might have just like directly screenshot it.
They will be from screen. She won't have made extra mock-ups. She'll just put it together to present it.
I can see some sort of noise in the background.
You're right. There is in some places too much, or it feels like too much white space. But maybe it's just because there's not an awful lot of content to fill the space.
But then that's an issue.
White on black, black on yellow.
I think as far as portfolios go, she's done a really good job by putting this kind of stuff in. That gives it some actual genuine content.
Yeah, quite like that.
The colour scheme's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Black, white, red.
She doesn't
See,
follow
that's
your
amazing.
law either.
That's
Which law is that?
The law of at least 6 pieces of work. You only got 3.
She's only got 3 pieces. One of them's for Puma, one of them's for Red Bull, and one of them's for something called My Comfort.
I suppose when you're working for Puma and Red,
It could be saying comfort means to be wearing a nice jacket and perfume or top.
If it's your most, I think in professional circles, I would take a more blog approach. So have like the most recent pieces at the forefront, but still have people be able to access your older stuff if they want to go through like historical. Because then you can
having-
revisit stuff and re-comment on work as well.
Yeah, and having bad work.
Yeah, more about them in the background.
I think having bad work from a year ago and comparing it to your work now shows how well you progress.
I suppose. I mean, it's always about your current work though. You're only as good as your last piece in some respects.
Yeah, but it's good to know how well your last piece was compared to your previous piece. Like, if there's no improvement between the last 3 or 4 pieces,
You'd hide it in the depths because eventually maybe you'd be embarrassed by it. But I suppose there'd be some pieces that you look back on and think, actually, no, that was really good for that time, and you'd hang on to it. But all I'm thinking is, if you use a blog kind of structure behind it
you
all,
can show your past. Kind of.
it makes it easier for you to administer because then the top stuff always comes through, doesn't it? You can decide how much of recent work is shown. You can create a spotlight section, maybe if there's one that you want to pin to it.
Yeah.
Quite like, I mean, it is just a basic page. There's nothing particularly special about it, but it's got all these preloaders and everything in, and that's just to do with the size of the images, I think. So, like, that'll be a background image. I don't think we can get access to it. Yeah, the image is like quite immense.
Huge, yeah.
But is there any need for it to be that big? I mean, what is it? Is it a J? It's a JPEG. That image doesn't need to be a JPEG. That image just needs to be a PNG. It'd be a lot smaller in file size. It could even be an SVG. And so she's actually used SVGs, but she's used them in a really blurted way. I was quite surprised to find, upon inspection, this bit here. Is it F11?
Right.
Does it not work in Internet Explorer?
It doesn't display it properly. No.
It worked because it's an SVG and Internet Explorer doesn't necessarily like that kind of stuff. But where is it? She's used what?
Does that get your whistle
So
there? That's
body.
Have that going on. Inspect.
Yeah, Flexbox is sort of
Is that what she's used for animation?
it's how you sort of big in like responsive design.
400 weight, normal
Okay.
cell, approximately.
Does it for you, kind of stuff? There must be this bit here. It's probably easier for us to right-click this and inspect it. There we go. So it's an SVG. The graphic, the whole thing, the text and everything. And it's quite interesting that she's animated it, because if I F5 this, it goes from that to that, which is a very interesting transition, because that's obviously it's pretty complex.
Yeah, it's nice, but yeah,
It'd take them 2 minutes in Flash, obviously, or an Edge Animate. She might have used Animate actually, I suppose, and output is an SVG. It's good that it's an SVG, because then it's a scalable vector graphic. So then she's gone from using a scalable vector for that with a really complex animation, which is probably done with some kind of third-party thing, given that we already can see that she's using kind of like third-party stuff to run the site. And then there's the huge images that are like the size of a desktop computer screen, but not necessarily the size that they need to be, because you should scale pretty well with PNG.
it bugs me with the M and the V join up underneath the E.
Here and here.
Yeah.
It looks like it wants to.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Like they're perfectly aligned. So it looks like they should. But they don't.
Maybe there's some kind of hidden meaning there that she wants that disconnect. She wants that tension. She wants to make you feel uncomfortable.
Maybe, yeah, well, this is losing it.
I think that's looking a bit too deep into a little gap.
No, I agree. It would look so much more aesthetically pleasing if
I
that's
think
just
it just
linked up.
I noticed it like the second I looked there, I'm just like that. There's a gap there.
Just imagine it is built.
It's like a tile and a floor that's the wrong way around compared to the other tile. You think you notice it? But yeah, in Internet Explorer, it cuts off. It cuts off the top and the bottom of it now.
Okay, let's have a look at it in IE. I wonder what it's like in Edge actually.
That's the new one.
Yeah,
I've never used it.
I've never really had many. I've not had any positive experiences with it yet. Yeah, it does. So it's obviously masked. I'm wondering if
That E disappeared.
it did when I clicked on it. It kind of
Yeah,
appeared.
the one she has at the bottom is the same thing as well. It flips between two different things. Welcome to the next game.
Yeah.
Where it takes 10 minutes to load a system.
Well,
What's supposed to be doing the road?
It's gone now.
it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
I use Edge on that.
Can I put this to the side? Like an Edge.
That's cool.
I was hoping I maybe I'll just stick that on the side somehow, but
We got Fireball.
What's Fireball?
This extension.
no.
You can see all like the HTTP headers and stuff coming through, as well as like the DLM.
No, I can't say I've ever used it.
Really good.
Yeah.
You can find us with Fireball.
It's probably worth having a look at the CSS there, actually. It could just be as simple as the box is the wrong size.
Scroll to the bottom.
Okay, scroll to the bottom.
You really didn't notice us, I think.
I don't mind it. Just, you know,
Oh, this is quite good that
that'd be critical.
each one of them's
it
like
didn't
that.
work like that on thing. On Pro.
It does.
It doesn't scroll through like that on Pro.
It does, but it scrolls through the content. It probably works better on here. Because then this does this. I've seen it do this on the first time you do it. It does this whole thing, this preload. And it's like, well, what are you preloading exactly?
Yeah.
And it's like these massive images that just don't need to be massive.
No,
So the only thing-
you could have put some of those images on one page and still have the text on the left-hand side.
It's still going there. Is it maybe not preloading? Is it maybe just not working?
I'd just be something fancy.
Yeah, but it looks like a loading screen, doesn't it?
The thing, a lot of preloaders that I'm noticing these days, they're not giving you. They're ambiguous. It's kind of like, right? If it's 100%, it's the full of the shit. But instead, they just have this kind of like spinning thing. There's kind of like you've got an expectation that it's going to go on forever.
I hate it when it's not.
And it's like when I was on Windows or on Apple, you had that spinning thing forever or the timer. And it just
It's nice to have a bar that says.
tell me 100%. I want to know when this is going to be finished. I can make a judgment. This is just not working. It would have loaded by now. The images are already in the cache anyway. Okay, so the last bit. doesn't work. Yes, but in her defense, Internet Explorer is a diffractive browser.
Yeah, the circle actually looks like a Firefox off the
If
edge.
she was working, wow, it's amazing how much the red cast across the room. If this was a site for general public consumption, you'd have to say, right, it's got to work on all the browsers, especially if the audience that are of that section. The audience of this section really they're going to be on posh Macs or on PCs with big screens.
There's nothing.
But what about you never know with your clients. Your clients could have the worst possible computer.
Yeah.
It's 10 years old and so bloody slow. Yeah.
So you've got to be careful about how you try new things. I mean, my opinion for you guys is always going to be along the lines of, to be honest, push the boundaries, just try the new stuff, and just put it in your notes that it needs to be done in such and such a browser. So, like, if you want to try the absolute bleeding edge stuff, then you want to be working with, is it Canary? It's the newer version of Chrome, which is basically always at the cutting edge. It's always it's not a stable release browser. It's just a browser for developers to kind of like to test the newest stuff in. Opera do a version. I can't remember what it was called. And I think Firefox also do they've got like the advanced browser that has everything up to date, and they test it in that kind of area in that environment, and then start implementing it in their stable releases. So high five, as it says in the Chrome version of the site. Yeah, we'll just see that working, shall we? Just to give us some credit. So yeah, it does scroll through. Like,
Yeah, it didn't.
I think it depends on where you are in the page. Because if you're in the page like this, and then you start scrolling through it, and you can carry on scrolling
Bring it back up to the 50-50 split.
to the top.
Just like press that cross.
I will do in a minute. See, that's what it's supposed to look like. But only does the high five animation once. I suppose that'd get annoying. But the whole site could be built around that concept. If the pieces were miles apart and it was just like going along the side, so you knew where you were in the site or whatever.
Yeah, replace kind of the scroll bar. I think that's one thing that could maybe be.
But yeah, this is like a fixed position, isn't it? Once you get to there, that's something. It's quite difficult to do that. So yeah, you close that and it'll go right back to the top, and then it'll close it across the 50-50. You're right, she could give more space to the image, but it adds that drama to it, I suppose, that you've got that image. Or maybe she could do more with this side and simplify it back to work. I just want to know what it says at the end, actually, the very, very bottom. Are there any kind of like credits, or there's nothing for like...
I mean, there's an imprint. That's
Oh, where was that again?
going on to contacts at the bottom.
Yeah, the
Again,
link
I
to
think
imprint.
that could just be on the contact instead of the top.
Yeah, this is about the content, isn't it? Copyright. Did not use it.
Their email should be more accessible. I think that should be on there.
There's not an awful lot. Or email is on the contact page.
Message box.
Yeah.
Message box would be good. There's not an awful lot that says about the code behind it, is there? So if you use open source stuff, then it's a bit nasty. And seems like you picked up on what was that she used?
Oh, Flexbox is just like a different layout than CSS. There's nothing to like that or anything. Just like a kind of a new way of doing things.
Well, people have always had different style sheets for different approaches, different designs. Yeah. In fact, it just makes it simple, isn't it? It's an object-oriented approach to have.
The navigation bar, the about work and contact.
Yeah.
It has like, it doesn't highlight where you currently are. If you go, I mean, like the work should maybe have a line under it, be a different colour.
Yeah. I would say it's a small thing, and in most sites that would be useful. But having this massive word work here does also compensate for that.
Does help.
Yeah.
I suppose, how do you know how do you know what's a link? I mean, she's
Yeah,
kind
I
of-
struggled with that. I didn't think you could click that Puma, Red Bull, and Michael.
No, I didn't.
I mean, I had to look at the website for
I
5
assumed.
minutes before I figured that.
I mean, you can tell because when you hover over, you do got some hinting because it goes red.
Yeah, I didn't
Um,
know where it was.
That's a bit more obvious.
Yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad. But I'm, you know,
The
people are
close button as well
Yeah.
is quite
Your
good
website's got to be done for it.
to a certain extent. Yeah. There's no way of getting back to that first page, like not that you want
Not
to,
without
actually.
scrolling.
Not without scrolling. Yeah.
It's always nice to have a return to the home page. But
Yeah.
she could have done more with it. Yeah? Like she had the
Right down at the
animation.
bottom.
Like,
If you are down at the bottom, you go to about.
You know, you were saying about the art, that's why
Let's go straight back
Yeah.
to the top.
isn't that what that
That's
actually
about
is?
yours.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
like down at the very bottom, the last that's about. Just go
Doesn't
down
need
to
to
the
go
top
up.
I can still be critical.
Scroll
Yeah.
really quick.
I can still be critical.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about.
You can still be critical of someone, bro.
But then,
Doing the same thing.
so this is what you'll be doing for next week.
I'm gonna get rid of that white space. I'm just gonna ram mine full through.
Actually, no, that's what you're supposed to be doing this week. But that was supposed to be in last session.
Oh, that time.
If you want to do that, then that's fine. The independent study is to produce your own ideas.
To be of an excellent standard.
What's that?
Finding one set of excellent standards.
It's what you consider to be an excellent
I'll
standard.
have to wait till Nigel's made this.
Well, we finish at 12:30, so that gives you until 15:15 to do something, and then we'll look over what you've come up with. I'm not expecting a presentation, just a quick, this is the site, this is why I think it's excellent.
Okay. Oh, actually, I did find one. I'll actually find it.
It's going on, actually.